The city of Hannibal is looking to get rid of two pieces of property for economic development opportunities. HREDC Executive Director Corey Mahaffey says over the last few months, the city has talked about selling the Hannibal Regional Airport to the Marion-Ralls Regional Port Authority. They also discussed selling the Lakeside Technology Park. Mahaffey says if the ownership transfers for the properties, there would be a chance to generate more revenue.
I think there are some assets at the airport that are underutilized currently, especially from an economic development perspective. And so I think it would be good to see that ownership transfer. I think the city's not really interested in looking at some of those opportunities, but the Port Authority Board would be.
Mahaffey says there will be more of an opportunity to expand the airport runway and bring developments to the technology park. Tonight, the city council voted to move forward in the direction of selling the airport. They also voted to approve a preliminary sale for the technology park.